beautiful souls, it's Han here today with another video for you on this channel. And today we're going to be looking at the Zodiac Degrees of Libra 26.22 to Scorpio 2 degrees. So this is kind of this cuspy zone between the Libra and the Scorpio. And if you've been keeping up with the channel and you like the content that I've been putting out, you can support me on a platform called coffee.com by buying me a coffee. The support that you provide me with will go into purchasing tools and equipment that I have to use to make these YouTube videos for you guys, as well as doing birth chart readings. Also, if you're a super astrology, human design, gene key enthusiast, you can join us on our online astrology platform. It's an online astrology hub where we interact, we talk to each other on a daily basis, and it's really fun. So I'll provide a link to that online platform in the description box below as well. This astrology hub is called Astrology for Uranian Souls. I've made an introduction video to the Zodiac Degrees and your highest destiny, so I highly recommend that you check that video out first. Links up above in the description box below, and you can come back and watch this video. So with this particular archetype, you're moving from what we call corruption to equilibrium to harmony. And this is going to sound pretty controversial, but in the gene keys, the highest vision key of harmony is what is called the gathering of the Illuminati. And I will explain to you exactly what this means later on in the video, so relax. It's not as controversial as you may think it is. So the dream arc totem bird vision key for your particular archetype is the grouse. At the fear level, this is the spider, and at the life key, it's the raccoon. At the highest destiny, it is the grouse. In the I-Ching, this particular hexagram is called the Cauldron, fire over wind. It's about passionate intention. In the 64 genetic codons, this is associated with glutamic acid, which has to do with learning and memory. It is called the ring of Illuminati. Your programming partner is gate 3. So your programming partner is the opposite point of this axis, and it kind of provides a complement or a balance to this energy that we have here. In human design, this gate is in the spleen. It is part of the channel of mutation 2750. It's part of the stream of relationship. So first, we'll be looking at the grouse really briefly and see how the symbolism of this particular bird is associated with this archetype in astrology and in human design and the gene key. So the grouse is a really interesting animal in that it has a very significant and memorable mating ritual. What the grouse, especially the sage grouse, can do while it's mating is that it pops its air sac so that it makes this kind of sound that can actually reach up over to 3 kilometers in distance. The frequency of its air sac. Other species of the grouse will kind of beat their wings to make a sound that sounds a bit like a drumming sound, and that can also reach a pretty great distance as well. And so the drum is something that has been used in several healing ceremonies around the world in the past, as well as today in several tribes and in their rituals. We've all heard of sacred drumming dances because the drum creates a particular frequency that is considered to be pretty spiritual. The idea behind these types of rituals is that it preserves a certain amount of traditions of a particular group. There are even some folk dances in North America that actually mimics the movements of the grouse while it's dancing. Ultimately, the grouse is an animal that is really much kind of has its life focused on mating, the rituals surrounding that, and maintaining their very ceremonial rituals in the process of courtship, getting a mate, breeding, and the likes. So if you have this particular bird vision key, your personality and traits may include being somebody who is involved in maintaining relationships with other people and a need for social harmony and to understand relationships. And with this particular focus and need for maintaining harmony in relationships and having relationships, there are two levels, two extremes that you may go about doing this if you haven't achieved balance. And the first extreme is to be somebody who just really gets along. If taken too far, can repress your individuality because you simply would like to get along with other people. On the other end, we can have a personality that can be a bit controlling and dominating in order to maintain harmony, to the point where you may be a little bit irresponsible in how you would like to have domination and control to maintain social harmony, ironically. With regards to your personality, you could also become somebody who has the ability to preserve justice and understand the justice system in kind of incorporating justice into a new social model in the world. When you enter a room and you're in a group of people, you can be somebody who can naturally maintain the equilibrium of a group without even having to try. It's just very natural. But like we said, if you're operating at the other extreme, either extreme's not great. Either extreme can create social disharmony, either because you're repressing yourself or you're too controlling of your, maybe it's persona or the way that you come across in social situations. But you have the interpersonal skills to be able to maintain harmony, even through a group with mixed race, the diversity that exists in groups. You can kind of understand the values of these different people and kind of combine them together, mix them together in a way that where everybody is satisfied. With regards to the vision of your highest self, this particular Zodiac Degrees, Gene Key, and Human Design Gate is really about transcending the social hierarchies and the man-made laws that creates division. Because real harmony, real equilibrium in the world nowadays, we can see that doesn't exist very often, or there's a lot of disharmony in that sense. And this is stemming from the fact that there are hierarchies, because hierarchies create within human beings a need to be jealous, to feel envy, and then therefore to have greed. And this is the root of corruption. Our current social order is what creates corruption. So if you've watched my video on Gate 3, Gene Key number 3, and Zodiac Degrees of, I think it was Aries from 26.22 degrees to Taurus 2 degrees, that's the opposite point or the programming partner of this particular gate, this particular archetype. In that video, I talk about the nucleus of the cell being the brain of the cell, and how we're shifting from the nucleus being the brain of a cell to the cell membrane being the brain of the cell. You see, when we operate from the nucleus of the cell being the brain of the cell, we are operating on individual survival, which creates competition in society. And this particular gene key works together with gene key number 3 to create a new social order. You see how the grouse plays with frequency. Whether it's beating its wings or popping its air sacs, it's working with frequency. And what you're here to do in the world is to cause the correct translation of the information, the data, in this frequency. And in particularly the human body, this frequency that we're talking about that's being translated is the frequency of the electromagnetic fields that enter into the cell membrane. So we're in a time in the world where we're shifting from the frequency that's entering our body and striking fear, which means survival, competition, the nucleus of the cell membrane, to a frequency that is different, that's not going to strike us at our fear level anymore or our individual survival anymore. I hope it's making sense so far. Because fear, operating on fear, is what causes suppression of other individuals, so that particular groups or particular individuals who are higher in the hierarchy can survive for their own survival. Such hierarchies like, first world countries, third world countries. This is, for example, this is something that if you have this particular archetype, you're here to challenge these systems and see if you can bring a new social order to it. This sounds like something really grand and like a really big destiny that you're here to do, right? You Libra Scorpios out there. But But where you can actually start from to kind of get the vibration going is first within your individual lives, and especially in the lives of intimate relationships, especially one of marriage. Marriage is, you know, this type of ceremony or ritual that we go through. You could be somebody to bring in a new dimension to marriage, because good marriages can produce children who are going to do good in the society. But a more corrupted marriage can lead to raising up children who have a harder time with, you know, because they're going to go through a lot of struggles that's coming from the parents. So the child is going to have a harder time not being corrupted as well, and kind of having equilibrium in themselves, and then creating equilibrium and harmony in the world. So with this particular archetype, the best way to instill harmony or equilibrium within the newer generations, especially in marriage, children that you raise, is through transparency. As we all know, that one of the big causes of corruption is non-transparency. So you can be somebody who brings in transparency, meaning that first there's transparency of your own self. It has to come from within first, meaning that you're somebody who can be very intimate with yourself, being honest with the fears that you're operating on, doing the internal work to live your life no longer based on fear. When you can do that, you can have honesty, transparency with a particular spouse or partner, grouse, spouse, anyways, with a particular spouse or partner. And through that transparency, we don't have a corrupted marriage. And then when parents no longer have their internal struggles with each other, they've got more energy, and they've got a higher vibration in which they can raise their kids with transparency, honesty, integrity. When that happens, what parents end up, what great parenting ends up affecting their kids in, is that the parents trust their kids. Because a really great parent is going to know, is going to have trust that they've done what they could do to raise the kids the way that the kids, you know, are going to function at their best. They're going to be the best person out there. So they're going to trust their kids. And when that happens, the kid has kind of the freedom to bring what they feel like they individually could bring to a group, a community, or a society. And when the trust is instilled individually, when people come together in the society as a group, there's eventually going to be trust in that group. So with trust, we don't operate on fear. And a group that has this kind of trust is willing to let each member of the group have a word, have a say equally in, you know, making a contribution or in expressing themselves. When this happens, what ends up happening if you have this particular archetype is you can trust in the values that each individual person is bringing. You take those values together, and this is why in the I-Ching this particular archetype is represented by the cauldron, because you take all these different value systems together, you mix them into something that works. And this is real harmony, because everybody in a group or society feels that they've made an equal contribution. And with this, we create a new social order, which can be termed as heterarchy, from hierarchy to heterarchy, where everybody is equal. And we can sort of see this happening in the world right now, and I bet that the people who are kind of on the fringe of making this happen in the world probably have some of this archetype going on, is that we see individual groups popping up where people in the group are empowering each other, and then with that they're trying to empower and make a change in the world. But remember that a collective awakening or collective change, this gene key specifically addresses that, has to come from an individual change, individual equilibrium. So we're going to turn up this particular archetype another notch and reach an even higher vibration of it. When we do that, what we end up having is a collective harmony. So if you guys have heard of the Sufis, and if you've ever seen their dance, you know that what they tend to do when they dance is they tend to spiral. And with the Sufis, when they spiral, they consider this to be this spiral to be putting them closer to the source. And there's a lot of dances and movement that brings people closer to the source, or at least is considered to do that. And why is it? It's because there's a, like we said, there's a frequency that's going on within the air. And what happens is that when you move with music, you put your physical body in alignment with the frequency that connects everything together, the vibration. That's what we're made of. We're made of vibrations and energy. You know, and this is also why, you know, I like to listen to music when I'm working, because when I'm listening to music, I feel that my brain is actually closer to the source, or it's more divine because it's moving in the vibration of the energy that's surrounding all of us. So I feel more harmonious. And this is actually very interesting because if you're kind of somebody who's very into astrology, you may have heard of something called harmonics in astrology. And if I've done a birth chart reading for you, you'll know that I sometimes turn on the harmonics chart and look at your harmonics chart, because a harmonics chart in astrology is basically talking about aspects in astrology, but it's based on the subtler vibrations. And that's kind of what the aspects are in astrology are made from. They're made from harmonic geometry. Yeah, so for example, when we have a conjunction, we divide a particular circle into one. When we have an opposition, we divide it into two. When you start dividing the circle into three, we have trines and grand trines. When you divide the circle into four, you have squares and grand crosses. When we start dividing the circle into five, we have quintiles and biquintiles in astrology. Into six, we start to have sextiles. Into seven, we have septile aspects, and so on and so forth. So if you look at your natal chart, and a natal chart is a chart of the stars being imprinted into your body, we all have a fraction of the harmonic geometry that is being instilled in our DNA, in all living things, and everything. We're just operating fractionally on it, but real harmony, through understanding vibration and frequency and being able to align our bodies with that, makes us whole, because we can literally embody, maybe not for a whole part of our lives, but for certain periods of life here and there, embody the entirety, or at least feel the entirety of the geometry that our natal chart is actually made from. That usually we would be operating on specific aspects or configurations, but they're actually coming from the whole, the totality of the geometry. So the idea here is that the Illuminati, the gathering of the Illuminati, what does this really mean? You know, Illuminati, of course, means the ascendant masters, or the chosen one. That's the kind of the term for the Illuminati. So what this particular archetype is letting you know is that these ascendant masters, or the chosen one, it's within all of us. And all we have to do is be in equilibrium, and then be in harmony inside each one of our bodies, inside all of us. This inner harmony makes us reach that state of the ascendant masters. And if we come together, we can influence the people around us. You know, if we are in harmony, right, and we come together, we can influence the people around us through our vibration, and then we cause this kind of spreading of the harmony. And therefore it's kind of like coming together, and then we're becoming a concert, and we play this music, we play the same vibration, and it's the music of harmony. And that's what can really help the world nowadays and bring some peace. And this ability to you know, transcend above the fractal of the geometry of our natal chart to understanding the whole harmonic geometry of our natal chart. It's kind of like we're transcending the natal chart. And if you're somebody who has talked to me before, I sometimes will talk about, you know, you can transcend your natal chart. This particular archetype has the ability to kickstart that and do that, transcend the natal chart. And the transcendence of the natal chart has to do with the transmutation of each genetic of our individual's DNA to reach that state of harmony. So yeah, that's going to be my interpretation of this particular zodiac degrees, as well as gene keys and human design. If you feel this, comment below and let us know what your experience has been with it. If you have any other questions, then leave a comment below. And I would highly recommend that you also check out gene key number 3, gate 3 in human design, and the zodiac degrees of your polarity programming partner, which is Aries 26-22 degrees to Taurus 2 degrees as well, to kind of see how you can balance and work with this energy to achieve a wholeness. Yeah, if you'd like this video, then give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button below if you haven't. If you already subscribed, thank you very much for coming along. I do birth chart readings, synastry, relationship readings. All the information is on my website. You can check that out. And that's it. I'll see you soon, beautiful souls. Bye.